Hello, and welcome to Let My People Eat, a podcast that provides satisfying talk about kosher nutrition. Here we clear through the clutter of nutrition speak, arm you with the clarity and confidence to eat, feel, and be your healthiest every day. I am Jill Scharfman, a board-certified holistic nutritionist living in Los Angeles, and with me is Dr. Andrea Moskowitz.
Hi, I'm Dr. Andrea Moskowitz, and I'm a neuroscientist and psychiatrist. I use my training and experience to integrate positive lifestyle changes into my patients' lives.
Hey, Andrea.
Hey, Jill. How's it going?
It's going well. How'd you sleep last night?
I slept pretty well last night. Probably not enough sleep, but pretty well.
Well, that's
How
common.
about you?
Not so great because my husband Aubrey is in New York for a family wedding that's taking place tonight.
Mazel tov. Very nice.
Thank you. Yes, I'm sorry I'm not able to be there, but so he's not in town, and when he's not in town, I tend not to sleep as well. So but that's okay. I'll make up for it tonight.
Okay.
So sleep.
Sounds good. So sleep. So why is it important? I mean, I think many of us maybe have had passing thoughts of like, well, I could get so much more done if I just didn't have to sleep as much,
Right, yeah.
And all of us probably know that person who claims that all they need is 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night and they're ready to go and they're fine and everything else. And we're like, oh, but I don't do well that way.
Right.
So, let me talk about sleep a little bit.
Yeah, because my question for you is our time on Earth, we're going to spend 1/3 of that time unconscious sleeping.
Well, sleep is not the same thing as unconscious.
Okay.
So let me get to that right now. Okay. Not the same thing.
Okay.
All right. Many of us are more unconscious when we're not sleeping. Okay. So anyway, it used to be thought that sleep was very passive, that basically we were like our brains had like an off and on switch. And then we went to sleep, it went off, and we went offline, and nothing really happened. It's sort of like when our Xerox machine, when work goes into, actually has sleep mode, right?
Yes.
And nothing is happening in that machine during sleep mode. But actually, our brains are kind of more like what happens with our cell phones at night when we plug it in to recharge, but actually also then we can get like updates, like to our iOS. That's when our iOS gets updated. Is when our phones are turned off and plugged in for the night. Okay, so
right.
Our phones aren't really sleeping. So, but a lot of important things happen when we don't sleep. When we sleep, and if we don't get enough sleep or we don't get the right kinds of sleep, then we run into a lot of problems. So I'm not going to go into a whole long thing about sleep. The kinds of sleep, but I just want to give people a little bit of information about that. So basically, very roughly, our sleep is composed of 2 types. Mm-hmm. There's what used to be called REM, or dream sleep,
right.
And then now they had all these fancy names for the other ones, like all these stages, but now they just call it non-REM sleep.
Okay.
So non-REM sleep is we go through progressively deeper stages, and the depth indicates how relaxed we are and how easy or not it is to awaken someone. So when someone's in the deeper stages, it's harder to wake them up. Mm-hmm. Okay. Like your teenager in the morning when you're trying to get them up for school. Right. So REM overall comprises, it's about 1/4 of our sleep, and non-REM is about 3/4. Mm-hmm. Okay. So what do you think happens? So I'm going to go through, what do you think happens in the non-REM sleep? Any thoughts? Or have you read about it?
I don't know. I do know, though, that you bring this up. I've done something as an experiment. There's an app on my phone called Sleep Calculator, where you can actually put in what time you want to go to bed and around what time you want to wake up. Right. And it will tell you the ideal time based on average sleep cycles. Right. What time to wake up so that you're not being pulled out of the deep sleep. Because I'm sure everybody has experienced some mornings you wake up and the alarm goes off and you're like, okay, ready to go. And then other times you just want to go back to sleep.
Or it takes forever.
Right. So if anybody wants to look, I don't even know if it's an app. I think you just search Sleep Calculator in your search engine, and it's really cool. Try it. Okay. Just try it.
So how long does it give you for a sleep cycle?
Well, I need a lot of sleep.
No. How long does each cycle?
Oh, I don't know how long it cycles, but if I say, let's say I want to wake up at 6:15 in the morning, it will say you can go to sleep at 9:15 or 11:15 if you want to wake up refreshed at 6:15.
Right. So so I will tell you, so the average sleep cycle is probably calculating off as an hour and a half.
Okay.
And what happens is during that cycle, your sleep is not static. Like you go down progressively deeper sleep, and then you get to the dream sleep.
Right.
For a certain period of time, and then you come back up. And what happens, though, is as you go through the night, what's interesting is that your sleep gets, the deeper part of your sleep gets deeper as those cycles go on, and you spend more time in the REM, the dream sleep part of it.
Okay.
So that's why, like, if you would sleep 4 hours at night and 4 hours during the day, it is not the same thing as sleeping 8 hours consecutively.
Got it.
Because you never get into those really much deeper stages of sleep. Deeper.
What is good? Why is that deeper sleep important?
So what happens is in the deeper parts, let me go through in the deeper parts of the non-dream sleep, so a lot of stuff happens. So our blood pressure drops, our breathing slows, and our muscles are relaxed. We have more blood going through our muscles, and it helps all of us. It doesn't matter how old you are. Okay, we stop growing in our height, but for all of us, most of our body is constantly renewing itself and repairing itself. So that's the time when most of this occurs. So your organs repair, new cells grow, tissues repair in your body.
I know for the liver, it's very important. At night, that your liver does most of its growth and repair at night, and that's why a lot of people who have liver issues are insomniacs and are up at night because their liver is having issues in the middle of the night.
Actually, almost everything repairs. There's almost nothing repairs during the day. To be perfectly honest with you, almost everything repairs at night.
Right, and I know there've been studies about like Alzheimer's that. Because the body removes the toxins that accumulate in the brain during the evening, that, sleep is very important for the brain as well as everything you just mentioned.
Right. Although also, too, when you get some of these things, they themselves throw your sleep off. So it's sort of a vicious cycle.
Well, I'm saying a precursor to Alzheimer's.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
There's other things, too. But also, too, the energy stores in your muscles, the glycogen we've talked about, is replenished and restocked. And a bunch of hormones are released during sleep. So one of them is growth hormone. Okay, so growth hormone, that's what stimulates growth in kids. And there have been studies where they show actually kids really do grow during the night. But also in adults, that's what helps trigger your body to repair itself, to make new cells, to make new blood cells, to make all the, it's involved in all of that.
And keeping you young.
And keeping your, you in repair.
Right.
Basically. And it also, interestingly, it helps you maintain healthy levels of the hormones that trigger eating, which is called ghrelin, and the one that also triggers not stopping eating, which is leptin.
Right.
Okay. And it helps maintain normal patterns of insulin release, which is the hormone that's used for blood sugar control.
Right. So I'm guessing this is why if people are sleep deprived, you see a risk in heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, certain cancers.
Right. Exactly.
Things that you want to avoid. I believe the immune system is also compromised.
Yes.
And like you said, there is a greater propensity towards weight gain if you're not getting enough sleep.
Right.
Plus, it has the effect that if you're not getting enough sleep and enough rest, that next day, you're not going to make good choices.
No.
And you're not going to want to eat well. So it's kind of like a vicious cycle.
It's very, exactly. And the other, because first of all, the whole thing that regulates that is off kilter, as you said. Then you don't make good choices. And then also a lot of times to stay awake, people eat and they don't make the good choices of what they're eating.
Right.
They eat high carb stuff. They eat
so stimulants, alcohol.
Yeah.
All of that.
All of that. Coffee late at night.
Right.
Right. So anyway, during dream sleep, the energy in the body and brain is also replenished. And what's really important is that memories and your thoughts and what you've learned about are what's called consolidated, or so they're put into longer term memory. and that improves learning.
So your cognitive ability is obviously, we all know this because you can feel that probably most easily when you don't have sleep. You're like, your brain is fuzzy. You're not making good decisions.
You can't pay attention.
You can't pay attention. Actually, it's a big problem with driving too. Everybody knows about drunk driving, but I don't think people are aware how much sleep deprivation affects your regular driving.
Right. Yeah. And the other thing too that happens, which people are not aware of, is if you don't get enough sleep, you get into what happens during the day is you go into microsleeps. So it's like a few seconds. You may not even notice. Yeah, really.
That's so cool.
You may not even know. It's not, but it's not.
If you're driving, it's not.
It's totally not. And you're actually doing anything. You're sort of going in and out of attention there. So you're not really able to put your full attention on things.
Right. But I'm guessing you must be very sleep deprived at that point.
Not so much.
Really?
It can happen with just a little sleep deprivation.
How much sleep do people need on average?
So let's talk about that's a great question, right?
Yeah.
So, all right, guys, here it goes. So the average adult, 7 to 9 hours per night. Now, there is some individual variation. So some people do fine on 7. Some people don't.
Right.
And honestly, you really can't fight this. Like if you need 8 hours of sleep a night, that's what you need.
Right.
And you might want to be one of those ones who does well on 7, but it's just, you can't fight it.
So we hear things like Martha Stewart, Donald Trump, they only need 5 hours of sleep a night.
Okay, no comments.
Okay. All right. So 7 to 9.
No, you know what? Backing up. There are out there these few people who really can do well, or they're fine on 5 hours. Okay? There are. I'm not going to say there aren't, but we're talking for most people. 99% of people need more sleep than that. Okay. If you occasionally can't get it, because we all have those days, whatever, so a short nap, like 45 minutes or less in the early afternoon may be helpful for your functioning for that day.
So my daughter goes to UCLA,
right,
where you went also, and they've just come out with this thing called nap maps.
Oh yeah,
where they have nap-friendly locations on campus.
Cute, it's nice.
Yeah, because they realize that these kids don't really, sleep is not a priority. And so they'd rather, instead of them drinking a big Starbucks coffee to power them through, that they find these little areas on campus where they can go ahead and get a nap.
Right. Yeah. Actually in Argentina, in Buenos Aires.
Yeah.
So, that is a culture where people used to go home, have lunch, and then have like a little nap afterwards. Right. So people don't do that anymore. So they have these nap places where you can go in and you pay some money, and it's this really nice little atmosphere, and you're in this little like cocoon kind of chair sort of thing that reclines for like 40 minutes. You choose your music. You can choose, I think, some scents wafting through, and then it's dark, it's relaxing, and then at like 40 or 45 minutes in, the lights that kind of gradually come up, the music gets like kind of like a little bit louder, and you're finished with your session. Right. And apparently it's like really nice. Like people really, really like
feel
it.
Rejuvenated. Yeah. I actually have a confession to make. While I was doing research on this sleep for this podcast, I actually did take a 20-minute nap.
Oh, good.
So it must have affected me. As a matter of fact, Winston Churchill, when he was leading Britain to victory in World War II, he always had his early afternoon naps.
See?
And they were non-negotiable. He said, "Nature has not intended mankind to work from 8 in the morning until midnight without the refreshment of blessed oblivion, which, even if it only lasts 20 minutes, is sufficient to renew all the vital forces."
Great.
Cool.
Very good. So, and the other thing, too, just to round it out, the younger you are, the more sleep you need.
Yeah.
So this varies with different ages, but for example, the average teenager needs consistently 8 to 10 hours a night. The other thing is, I'm sorry to tell you, despite the urban myths out there, you really can't make up your sleep debt.
Right. You can bank sleep, I believe.
Not so much.
No?
A little, maybe like I said, like a tiny bit.
Right.
But not really as much as you think. And no.
There's also something called the letdown phenomenon. And I've seen this happen actually with my husband. When you start catching up on sleep, you might feel more tired.
Yeah. Or
Because,
you start getting it regularly.
Right. Your adrenal glands say, okay, I'm not so stressed. I can rest and relax. So it doesn't shoot out the hormones, adrenal and cortisol. And what that does is it makes you feel more tired.
That makes sense.
So if you do get more sleep, you go, oh my gosh, I'm sleeping more and I'm even more tired than before. It's just your body's way of letting you know, you were really tired and we're going to rest and relax right now, and then you'll feel better. So that is called the letdown phenomenon.
Okay. So you know what? So we've talked a lot about sleep and why you need it. And I think most people, a lot of people realize that.
Right.
But let's talk about like how to get it.
Right.
Because for a lot of people, that's the problem.
Right. And I think people, like you were saying, don't realize that sleep's not a luxury.
No, it's a priority.
It's absolutely a priority. It's like breathing and eating for you to function well.
By the way, just a side point, interesting comment, is like, if you don't get sleep, for after about 3 or 4 days of like, if you're forced to not sleep, and you know what, that's used as torture. Actually.
Right. Sleep deprivation.
Sleep deprivation. You will start hallucinating and you'll become paranoid. You'll become psychotic, actually.
We want to make sure we're getting
So you really need sleep. And even if you get, like, as most new mothers or new fathers know, the first month, you're really not functioning well.
Right. Right, you're really not.
And
sleep when the baby's sleeping. That's always the advice the mothers give.
Right.
So let's talk about sleep hygiene. Let's circle back to naps for a minute, because naps we said are great, but we should limit them to 20 minutes. Yeah, around
20, 30 minutes.
Yeah, and not nap after 3 p.m.
Right, exactly. Otherwise, that will get in the way of you falling asleep
at night.
Yeah.
So.
And don't worry, don't stress yourself out about your nap. Like, it should be just like lay down and just say, I'm going to close my eyes and I'm just going to relax.
Right. You just should rest. And that's really, whether or not you fall asleep is irrelevant.
Is irrelevant, right.
Right. So let's talk about some sleep hygiene practices.
Okay.
So consistent bedtimes and wake up times. And that means even on the weekends.
Exactly. 100%.
Right. So don't use the weekend to stay up till 1 a.m., sleep until 12. You're going to pay the price the rest of the week.
Right.
And you want to talk maybe also about the blue lights from computers and phones.
Oh, right. So important thing. So one of the hormones that actually triggers sleep, because it's an active process, is called melatonin. Okay. And melatonin is made in our brains. And it helps trigger sleep. It's interesting in teenagers. You know how like most people as teenagers don't want to fall asleep till later? It's because their melatonin is actually not being secreted till later in the evening.
Right.
And then they need sleep, so then it's hard to wake them up in the morning. But that's just the way things are. But one thing that kind of inhibits melatonin from being released as early as it should be are blue lights from screens.
From electronic
devices. Right. So it means that at least an hour before you want to go to sleep, you need to cut off your electronic screen time.
Right.
So no phones. No, you can't read on your iPhone or your iPad or your Kindle.
Right.
Shutting off your personal computer.
The TV,
your laptop.
Is a TV...
TV, not as much of a problem because you're not sitting... The way the light pattern is, especially, you're not usually sitting on top of your TV. You're usually sitting...
far back,
many feet back from it. So, and if you see, sometimes there's like a light, like a circle, a half circle of light or thing around where the TV is. So you don't want to be sitting within that. Okay. You want to be sitting like outside of it in the dark. So that's not so much of a problem because it's not like coming like right into your eyes.
Right.
Neither is sitting in bed, like reading a book or a magazine with the light
low
on the book or magazine. You don't want the overhead light because it's like too much light, but a light, like a book light or even a bedside light on your book is fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, so regular exercise also contributes to sounder sleep.
Right.
But not too late at night.
Not too late at night because it can be activating. Remember, after you exercise, it's going to take you at least 2 hours for your body to be ready to fall asleep.
Right. And avoiding coffee or caffeinated products in the afternoon or evening. Alcohol might make you sleepy.
But not good sleep.
Not good sleep. It will contribute to fragmented sleep.
Right.
Also, taking a hot shower or bath a few hours prior to bedtime will
help. Be relaxing.
Yeah, it will help your body temperature.
Yeah. And it's nice to throw into the bath if you want, like some lavender, chamomile, Epsom salts. Right.
I also keep a pad of paper and a pen next to my bed, and there are times I've woken up and had a thought, and I write it down. Hopefully, I can read it the next morning. But you also want a dark, cool room.
Right.
And you want your pillow to be supportive and your mattress.
And a good mattress.
Yeah, it's very important. My grandfather used to say you spend a third of your life sleeping and a third of life on your feet. So you want a good mattress and you want good shoes.
And the other thing, too, is that basically the bed should be for sleep, for what I call sleep induction. So you can sit in your bed and read a little bit before, listen to some soft music, or some people don't like to read. So this is sort of you have it on your phone or your or electronic device, but you don't look at it, which would be maybe a guided meditation or a guided imagery kind of thing that you have for yourself. And there's other things that the bed can be used for. We won't go into it. This is a family show.
Okay.
But what it shouldn't be used for is you should not be doing work sitting in your bed.
Right.
You should not be taking work phone calls. Unless it's some emergency in the middle of the night in your bed. You should not be watching television in your bed. You should not be rearranging your photographs, doing your scrapbooking, and and myriad other activities that are just too activating.
Okay. Couple last minute things. You want to avoid heavy meals before going to bed.
Right.
But it's not a bad idea to have something small like banana or yogurt or nuts or something before, because it'll actually keep your blood sugar steady throughout the night, and you'll avoid that 3 a.m. That wake up. People wake up all of a sudden because their blood sugar is dipped and the body has woken them up.
Right. And those foods also are high in tryptophan, which is an amino acid that's used in a chemical in the brain that's involved in sleep.
Right. Also, try not to drink too much so you don't have to get up to go to the bathroom. Right. And finally, keep your digital clocks out of view, because the worst thing is when you wake up in the middle of the night and you are watching that clock and you're like, I can't fall asleep and I have so much to do.
Right. Which gets me to one last point quickly here, is that if you feel sleepy and you put things aside and you close your eyes and you start tossing and turning and it's been more than 10 minutes, do not continue to toss and turn for 30 more minutes.
Get up.
Because otherwise the bed will be the place you don't go to sleep. So you don't even have to get up and run around, but sit up, start reading again or whatever it was, and keep doing that until you'll fall asleep. Don't toss and turn.
I'll leave you with a quote from Shakespeare's Macbeth. He said, "Sleep is the chief nourisher in life's feast."
I love it.
Isn't that great?
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Andrea.
You too.
And that is it for this episode of Let My People Eat. Please visit our website at letmypeopleeat.com and leave us a comment. Get in touch at our email at podcast@letmypeopleeat.com or call us at 317-659-0004. Post on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook with the hashtag #LetMyPeopleEatPodcast. If you like this show, please make sure to leave us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. Tell your friends and family, and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts.
And please remember that although we are certified professionals, this is not a medical advice podcast. No content, posts, or comments should be interpreted as professional guidance. Always speak to your own health practitioner about making the right life changes for you.
Until next time, I am Jill Scharfman.
And I am Andrea Moskowitz.
Thanks for joining us.
And go in good health.